Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you may be. On this edition of the Klown Hour podcast, we're going to get into some NFL playoffs previews, some juicy matchups this weekend, as well as previewing the college football playoff. Who you got? We're going to find out. So until then, let's get it. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, wherever you may be. I'm Scott Burks. This is the Klown Hour. My man, Dwayne Nash. Please check him out on the Yard. That's HBCU Sports. It raps about all things HBCU Sports, as well as Sleazy Radio on Tuesday night on Facebook Live. You see the merch right there. The Yard. Get the merch. He'll explain where you can find it. I might cup that one of those myself. Also, please check out his work on herosports.com when he raps about all things FCS athletics, especially as it pertains to HBCU sports. As to your boy here, check out my sports blog, The Klown Times. It's Klown Spelled with K at www.theklowntimes.net. You check me out on Facebook as well. So where you're on your smartphone, desktop, laptop, just go to the search area, type in The Klown Times. You find me there. And last but not least, get the merch.
Get the merch.
CafePress.com. Search for The Klown Times Sports. All one word, no dashes, no hyphens, no spaces. And also, please subscribe to the channel. All right, on this crazy ass Wednesday. I mean, we went from, I don't want to be political a little bit, but just put it all to perspective. We went from a historic high last night when a brother and later a Jewish man from Georgia won the Senate seats to flip the Senate to the left. Yeah, this happened earlier today, right? We all know what happened. We all don't live under a rock. We seen it. We saw it. Hopefully everyone's safe. I know you in DC area, Dwayne, so hopefully you're safe. Well, you're obviously safe, like you said.
But I'm right here with you.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think back right quick. I'll make this quickly too. When I used to live in DC for 3 years and just work at HHS right at Capitol Hill, right at the foot of Capitol Hill. And just seeing the crazy stuff I seen there in the past, like the protests, gatherings, whatever. I just never thought I'd live to see something like this, what took place early today. And again, I'm hoping, praying that everybody's safe, non-protesters, wherever. Hope you're safe. I mean, prayers go out to the young lady who was shot and killed. And I don't know if you want to add a couple of words before we get started. You're the DC native, so.
I'll go ahead and add a couple of things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep this very brief because, of course, this is a sports show, right? I don't really want to go
and we
too
did
deep
the
into
sports.
Politics.
Yeah.
But of course, they still tell us to shut up and dribble, but sports and politics still has a way of finding a way of intertwining with one another sooner or later at some point, right? But this is one of those times. I'll say this. Being, born in the mid-'70s, growing up in the '80s and '90s, being the product of those that protested during the '60s and lived through that, especially here in the district. Oh my God, a lot of stuff that went down here. We grew up in a particular atmosphere where we saw certain imagery, we heard certain types of music that continued to rile us up during that time, in terms of fighting for our particular rights and making sure that we had equal footing, right?
Correct.
So to the whole concept of rushing the government to that degree, like we saw today, oddly enough, I'm gonna go ahead and confess, Scott, with you, right? There was a small part of me that wasn't anti that, right? Because unfortunately, government, the way that it is in certain times and has been for the past 4 years,
right.
We scream for change, and unfortunately, things don't change for those who have been disenfranchised. And let's be real here, for people of color, we've been disenfranchised since we got here, right?
Right.
So to visually see something manifest that we kind of teased about for years, I was kind of happy to see it happen. But one of the things that I didn't do was, one, I didn't humanize that situation, right? And let me break that down. Being a native here, of course, I know that there are people that I do know and probably unknowingly work at the Capitol. So yes, I'm concerned about their safety.
Mhm.
One of them being, oddly enough, one of my co-hosts over at Sleazy Sports, Coach. Coach works at the Senate.
Oh, wow.
Oddly enough, Sweet Lou used to work at the Senate. Had he not retired, he probably would have been there today too, right?
Wow.
So to put that in perspective, their safety comes to mind when I think about situations like that.
Mhm.
Not thinking about, originally, we need to go ahead and let the powers that be know that, hey, things need to change. And sometimes you get tired of just yelling outside, hey, this needs to happen. You need to kick in the door. And maybe they'll think twice, right? I said, this now kind of humanizes that. But two, it kind of put things into perspective. Because just a couple of months ago with the whole Black Lives Matter, I don't like saying the whole, I shouldn't even say that, right? Just a couple of months ago with the Black Lives Matter protests that happened throughout the entire country, throughout the entire world, right? Especially the stuff that happened here in DC.
Mhm.
But the way that they were treated in terms of just wanting their voices to be heard, no one was planning to storm the White House. No one was planning to do anything, and anything. Those that were doing damage weren't those that had the original concept of what that protest was supposed to be in their hearts. They just wanted to come out and do damage, right?
Yeah.
Unlike these mammals, they all they wanted to do was be destructive,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because we hear your voice, we understand that you believe something that's completely untrue. That's a whole other thing in itself, and that you're upset. But I truly believe that they're scared, and they just went through and they wanted to go ahead and damage things. And the fact that they weren't treated the same way that those, especially those that are between the ages, I mean, everyone who was there, but let's be real, huge concentration of those protesting on Black Lives Matter were between the ages of 12 and 30. And the way that they treated those Black kids, oddly enough, my son is that age, it sickened me to see how they were sick on these kids for just wanting to hear them say that, hey, we don't want to be treated like this.
Yes, we want to be equally treated under equal protection of the law.
Yes. Equal protection of the law.
Yes.
Not lies about the election, not based upon we're afraid of what this new administration is going to. No. We just want to be treated right by the. We don't want to die. We just want to walk the streets.
Yes.
We just want to walk the streets.
Be profiled and shit,
Yeah, but these mammals are mad about the outcome of an election that didn't go their way. Yeah. And this is how they act. So that's the thing that truly bothers me, is the fact that innocent people were put into harm's way, and they were doing this because something didn't go their way.
Right.
And that's the thing that bothers me. You're grown men and women. Sometimes the same way that conservatives told the Dems to deal when Donald Trump won.
Yeah, deal with
it. Now they're saying that they're acting like liberals. Yeah, in the way that liberals did 4 years ago. No, liberals.
They never stormed the Capitol.
They never stormed the Capitol, and they never would have been allowed to.
Right.
They never would.
And rightfully so. And rightfully so.
Yeah. To quote my man Fred Rerun Stubbs in an episode of Martin, had we rushed the gates, we would have been sprayed. There's no way in the world that would have happened. Matter of fact, if you don't believe me, just look at 6 months ago.
Yeah.
We weren't even trying to rush the White House then. But these members rushed the Capitol and nothing happens. Again, I don't want innocent people to have to be affected by this. Mm-hmm. And prayers go out to the young lady that ended up being shot and murdered. Mm-hmm. I will say this: I might not agree with why she was out there, but according again, I don't know how true the story is. The eyewitness account, and it's bad. It's bad that we've gotten to the point where we don't trust each other now.
Right.
Eyewitness accounts say that she was reaching for her cell phone and she was shot by a police officer because they believed that it was going to be a weapon. I just thought it was weird that she got shot in that situation.
Right.
But Bama's that actually had guns, nothing happened to them. Bama's that actually pushed their way in, nothing happened to them.
Right.
So again, it goes back to equal treatment. That's all I ask for, man. That's all we all ask for.
Correct.
It's equal treatment, be it man, woman of color, person of color, whatever. We just want to be treated the same, dude, and not have insanity like this happen. But yes, for all those asking, yes, I'm fine. Yes, I'm fine because I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
But all of that stuff is basically concentrated within the neighborhood of the White House. I live within eyeshot of the not the White House, but the Capitol. I live within eyeshot of the Capitol, probably about a 10-minute drive. But it's not coming out that far. No, not at all.
We're good. As long as everyone's safe, that's all good. All right. So get into sports.
But if anything, Scott, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
It seemed like to me because they also had a curfew during the Black Lives Matter marches as well.
Correct. Yes.
Now when they had those marches, it seemed like those curfews were to get the protesters in the house.
Correct. Right.
It seemed like this curfew
was for the non people
was
who
to
weren't
protect them.
Yeah.
Was to protect them so they could get back safely.
Mm.
And there are positives and negative views on that.
Yeah.
I understand.
I feel some kind of way about that, but that's
I do too, right?
Yeah.
And I understand that it is our mayor here, Muriel Bowser, and she's super petty. If you don't believe me, go look at Black Lives Matter Way and understand how that entire thing went down. That's about the pettiest you can get. The highest of petty-tivity. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like it was to protect them, but at the same time, it was kind of to protect DC natives because those who wanted to go out and do something probably would have gotten charged for it. Yeah. Even though in some cases they could have been defending themselves.
Oh, so yeah. That probably would have happened. That probably would have happened.
That's exactly what would have happened because that's what happened the last time they were here in November when you had there were a couple of teenage kids that got into an altercation with a couple of men, and it didn't go the grown men way.
Yeah, right.
And they were looking for the grown men, even though they were looking for the kids, even though the grown men were the agitators. Mm-hmm. But I just got a strange feeling this whole 15 minutes right here might need to be edited because it has nothing to do with sports.
Yeah, that's all right. It's okay.
I mean, the people can need to hear it. They need it, and most of those probably watching do agree with it. But at the same time, I'm like, yo,
yeah,
just let it go, dude. Just let it go.
You lost. Just move on. Just move on. Just move on.
Dude.
Just tell other people to move on. Yeah. All right. Speaking of moving on. All right. The NFL playoffs. First of all, before we get into that, I want to congratulate you on your Washington football team's divisional crown. Now, I'm not saying y'all was suspect in how you got it. You earned it. But I think you had a little help by one Doug Peters. Yeah, I'm going to go there. Look, you guys played your game. Alex Smith didn't play particularly well because he's playing on one leg. He's gutting that out. God bless him for that. The defense, y'all's defense showed up, obviously. Chase Young, man-child, defensive rookie of the year. But I had a problem with how Dougie P, as he likes to call himself, how he, a couple instances, he was like, you know what? It's not important to win this game. I mean, they were down 20-17. Well, I think 2017, maybe 17-14. They had a 4th down and 2 or 4th and 5, well within field goal range. You remember this, don't you?
Yes, they were down 14-10. Yeah.
14-10, okay. So instead of kicking this is obviously early in the game. So instead of kicking a field goal to get within 1, they're going to go for it. Incomplete pass. And then later on, they pulled Jalen Hurts for whatever reason. I still don't know why he chose to do so. Mm-hmm. And for this Nate Sudfeld, whatever you pronounce his last name.
Nate Sudfeld, a.k.a. Nasty Nate. I'm going to have to tell you my Nasty Nate story. I'm going to have to tell you my Nasty Nate story later. But yes, Nate Sudfeld. Yes, sir.
Oh, my God. Well, his ass got in the game. He stuck up the joint. Had a turnover that led to Washington's points, which proved to be a difference in the ball game. So let me ask you. And so basically, then you have people obviously just complaining. One being Joe Judge, head coach of the New York Giants, who should shut the fuck up because this team finished 6-10. If you're 6-10, you shouldn't be saying anything. Yeah, it's a 6-10 for a reason. You sucked. Let it be. Let it go. Try hard again next year. So anyway, again, congrats to your squad. Not throwing any shade. Congrats to your squad. The squad earned it. You overcame a 1-5 start, I think.
Yes, sir.
To finish the season 7-9. Just finished it obviously like a winning record the rest of the way. But give me your thoughts on that. Did you think that Dougie P through the game? Should he have a job? What's up?
I'm going to start with this, right? And I'm glad that Lou put it into perspective last night. And Lou is an Eagles fan.
Right.
He put this into perspective last night. Because I didn't even think about it this way, right? Because it happens so often, we become so oblivious to this, right? So you think about it, it's week 17, final week of the season, playoff position is on the line. You have a game between two divisional rivals, whereas one is fighting for a playoff spot. The team, between the two teams, one of the teams from Pennsylvania, and the coach makes a decision to put in the backup quarterback. And it's perceived by many as an attempt for that team from Pennsylvania to throw the game, right?
Right.
Funny thing is, I'm not talking about the Eagles. I'm talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
Yeah, right? They put in their backup quarterback in the rivalry game. They didn't necessarily need that game. But the Browns needed it in order to get in. You know who else needed it?
Miami Dolphins.
The Miami Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
So no one talks about how teams who rest guys for that final week, in essence, could be seen as throwing a game, especially if it's a situation where a team that they may be facing could be fighting for their playoff lives, like the Cleveland Browns were, right? And in essence, that hurts the Miami Dolphins. But yet, no one talks about the integrity of the Steelers. They're looked at as resting players. Whereas those who look at the Philadelphia Eagles look at, they question Doug Peterson's integrity and whether or not he was doing his damnedest to make sure that the Washington football team did not make it into the playoffs.
Right.
I would go ahead and chalk that up to two things. One, New York bias. Two, the bias on the Washington football team and the hatred they've been receiving for the past 20 years. And I don't know why, because this team has been bad for the past 20 years. Why are you hating on this organization so much? I don't get it. I really don't get it, right? But, okay, the question was about Doug Peterson and whether or not his integrity is in question, right? Now, mind you, the game was close. But the thing was, your boy, Jalen Hurts was not having a remarkable game there.
Oh, he was terrible. He was terrible.
He was terrible. Matter of fact, they were the ones leading 14-10 at that moment. Matter of fact, or were they? No, they were down 17.
Right.
They were down 17-14 at that moment.
Right.
Right. Like I said before, Jalen Hurts was not having a remarkable game at that point. Matter of fact, he had well under 200 yards of combined offense up until the point in which he was pulled. Now, do I agree that placing in one nasty Nate, aka Nate Sudfeld, in at that point of the game was the best for them to do? In terms of competitiveness, no. But allegedly, that was the plan because they wanted to review him under game time situation to figure out whether or not they want to keep him on the roster for next year, right? Now, for the Giants, that's a bad situation because you need Philly to be as competitive as possible, right?
Correct.
But for Philly and for Doug Peterson, who's trying to save his job, now, yeah, of course, a win at the end of the season and going 5-10-1. I don't know how much better it is than 4-11-1. And yes, it's 3 draft spots better. But he's trying to save his job and evaluate players as well as everybody else.
Right.
Oh my God. And if anything, he's doing a solid for the Giants. New York Giant fans, if you want your team to not be in that situation, you win games.
Right.
There were 10 other opportunities in which you had to win games and did not. Sorry. It just is what it is. You're a 6-10 team begging for the help of a team that entered the game at 4-10-1. Stop it! You're looking you're looking very needy right now, New York Giant fans.
They should
Very
just
needy.
shut up. They should just shut up. I mean, look. I mean, someone said, was it Colin Cowherd? Someone said, Mr. Skip Bayless. Someone said that Joe Judge is using this as an attempt to possibly lure some free agents, attract some free agents, in the sense that he was saying that, you know, he's all big on this effort of the team, blah, blah, blah. I think he just shut up. Now, I would say this, as far as your theory upon likening what Philadelphia did to what Pittsburgh did the rest of its players, I would count up by saying this. We went into, we people knew we were going to rest players midweek. They knew that we were going to rest Big Ben, T.J. Watt, Cameron Hayward, Marquise Pouncey. Everyone knew that before. Dougie P does this shit in the middle of the game.
Yeah. I mean, does it make it any better that we know about it or versus not knowing about it?
Yeah,
Because
I mean, I get what you're
guys.
saying there. Yeah, he's still wrestling guys, but the point is, the game was competitive when he pulled the plug.
That says a lot about the Browns, really. And I kind of feel bad for no, I didn't pick them. No, I picked them for points. But yeah, that says a lot about the Browns.
Yeah, they they won by 2 points against our B team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you expect to look against a team who finished the season 1-5? How do you expect to look against them when now they're going to be fully loaded again?
Yeah.
If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm coming in there with more confidence than I did before.
You play them at home and you get your whole squad back against the same team you beat by that you lost to by on the failed 2-point conversion. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, cry all you want to. Take care of your own business.
Yeah.
There used to be a gospel song, sweep around your own front door before you try to sweep around mine. Take care of your own business, basically. Yeah. You have 17, well, actually 16 games. You have 16 games and 17 weeks to take care of your own business. Right. If you can't do that, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. And you're begging for someone else. You're begging for hey. See, I'm quoting, I'm dropping quotes today. Slick Rick once said, real men don't beg, most men don't borrow.
Yeah.
Yo, stop begging. Do it for yourself.
That's old school for those young folks out there. That's old school.
Yeah.
That's old school.
That's old school for those that don't know that. But you beat the Cowboys. But you had 10 other games you had an opportunity to win. Exactly. Matter of fact, there were out of those 10 losses that you had, 6 of them, if memory serves me, were less than 7 points. In terms of point differential.
One of the Philly games for sure.
Most definitely, yeah. Matter of fact, the game against Tampa, where they lost in that night game, that Monday night game by 2. So there were several opportunities that they had that were within their grasp that they could have won and did not. So stop your whining too. And then the other thing that I heard, oh my God, Washington's strength of schedule was the weakest of the
You play who you play.
One, you play who you play. 2, if you look at the schedule and you compare the schedules between the Washington football team and the New York Giants, there were only 2 games that were different. That was against Washington played the Detroit Lions and the Carolina Panthers. You know what? Washington lost both of those games anyway. So you made up that space because they lost against teams that were different on your schedule. But yet they had a better record against the comparable talent. Stop the insanity, Giant fans. Stop the insanity. And you know what you talk about, and this is to my Giant fans out there who like, oh, so you proud about this divisional win? Yes, because you would have been the same way at 6-10.
Oh yeah, they've been crowing. They've been crowing about it. They've been like, bring on Tampa rematch. I'm gonna get to your nasty Nate. Well, let's get to your nasty Nate story now before we get into the rest of the landscape of the playoffs.
Okay, long story short. Yeah. My father and I go to Washington Football Fan Appreciation Days as often as we can, right? Sure. We also take my aunt, who is a super huge Washington football team fan. I might have to tell you about her at another time because she's comical. But we're there, players are running drills, working out, fans are all there. They get a chance to see their players up close, especially for those who can't make it to games.
Right.
They have opportunity to get autographs without Fan Appreciation Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at this point in time, Nate Sudfeld is with Washington. He's the third string QB, and he's running plays, right? And the offense is driving downfield. They're in the huddle, calling the play. They line up at the line of scrimmage. And right before they call the play, I'm on the sidelines with the fans, and I yell out, slant, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the play that they run? And who does Nate Sudfeld throw the ball to? The guy running the slant. What happens? Nate throws an interception. And everyone that's on that side of the field turns around and looks at me as if it was my fault. I'm like, yo, I didn't throw that pass.
Yeah.
How is that my fault? That's not my fault at all. So now my father and I refer to Nate Sudfeld as the half-baked character, Nasty Nate. And yeah, we've been doing it ever since, man. And oddly enough, as soon as Nate Sudfeld gets to the game, I receive a text from my dad with a photo of Nasty Nate. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
You beat me to it,
that's
dude.
That's so cool.
You beat me to it, dude. You already knew where my head was, because that's exactly what I screamed out when I saw him warming up. But yeah, the Nasty Nate thing, man, that's my name for him forever. Even though he did come into Washington last year as an Eagle and beat the Washington football team in that last game of the season. But I digress.
There you go. All goes full circle.
Yeah.
Speaking of full circle, yeah, so Miami, speaking of Miami, we touched on Miami earlier. Mm-hmm. They get the asses kicked in the game that they had to have, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Buffalo, I think, would play to win, sort of, in terms of playing their starters. I think into the deep in the third quarter. Mm-hmm. They were just carving, Josh Allen was carving them up. But, okay, if you're the Dolphins, if you are the Dolphins players, or better yet, more importantly, if you are Brian Flores, the head coach, brother man, what are your feelings? What are your feelings on Tua? I mean, you drafted him fifth overall. You have to ride with him. I get that. But what are your early thoughts on this kid as a comparison to Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, amongst others? Because they balled out. Joe Burrow before he got hurt, and Justin Herbert, I mean, who the hell saw that coming? So
no one. So
basically, Tua, because the performances of those two other young men is on the clock. Mm-hmm. So if you're a Dolphins guy, what are your thoughts on Tua, and what should be your thoughts on Tua at this point?
Now, I had this conversation with NFL fans that are of a particular age. And when I say that, guys that are over 30, right?
Sure.
Especially when it comes to quarterback evaluation. Mm-hmm. Now, Scott, we're separated by a couple of years, but not by many.
Correct.
So we're used to seeing within the NFL, especially with coaches, a time in which rookies probably didn't play.
Yeah, they didn't play for a couple of years.
Yeah, unless they were monsters, right?
Right.
You had your few that came in, as a rookie and came in and played, right? Mm-hmm. And your rookie QBs were actually given time to develop and learn a system,
right,
and play well.
Right.
Now, this actually went up until about maybe what? I'm gonna go ahead and probably say as late as Aaron Rodgers' class, right? Mm-hmm. Because you got to look at it like this. He came in behind Brett Favre, rookie year under Brett Favre. Year 2, he was thrusted in as a starter and wasn't necessarily a monster his second year. Third year, and that was a thing. Remember this, Scott? They used to say it took QBs at least 3 years to get comfortable within a system and learn it.
Yeah,
know
because
how to properly
the degree of difficulty and all that shit. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, dude, that's out the window now.
I know,
because not only are QBs and their play on the line, coaches and their livelihood are on the line too. They're getting rid of both players and coaches quickly. No one's given time to prove anything unless you're like Jeff Fisher and you got photos of the owner doing butt naked things with nasty animals and stuff like that, allegedly, right? So it's just interesting that now we don't give QBs the time that they used to, but I understand that's the way that the game has now moved. It's sad because we end up having a lot of guys tossed to the wayside, and a lot of them, sadly enough, don't get that opportunity to revive themselves. Some do, but that window is short. And my God, if you can't prove it quickly, then you out of here quickly. So yeah, in terms of Tua, as much as they criticized Dwayne Haskins just last week, now I'll say this: Tua has God. I was about to praise Tua, but I have to think about it for a moment there. Without looking at his stats, I'll say Tua is a better runner than Dwayne Haskins is.
Right.
But he hasn't had huge games. And there have been games in which he's had to be pulled already. So, yes, if I'm a Dolphins fan, I might be concerned because, hey, this is who we wanted. We got the guy we asked for. The thing is, though, will he be allowed the time to develop? So if I'm Flores and you have the number 3 overall pick, thank you, Houston. Do you go ahead and take advantage of a QB that'll fall in your lap at that position, especially if it's a guy that you like, and depending upon your thought process? Because you got to remember, even when they did this with Brittle Bob and his same draft class with Kirk Cousins, you drafted QB in the first round and the fourth round. People looked at that as being insane. You know what else I look at as being insane? Drafting the QB in less than 2 years apart. And we've seen several teams do that already.
Of course.
And the Miami Dolphins could potentially be on that exact same path, especially if someone in that front office or that coaching staff does not believe that Tua is the guy for this team, regardless of whether or not where they slip that draft pick. They're going to have to go ahead and take an inventory on this, right? And figure out whether or not that's what they're going to do. We'll end up finding out in April if that is the case, right? But yeah, that's something that has to be discussed. And the reason why I will probably go ahead and be like, no, you go ahead and stick with what you got, is because I'm a development guy. Remember, I'm an older guy. That's the thing. If you allow these guys to feel comfortable and an opportunity to develop and work it out, then fine. That's what you do. But hey, oddly enough, Flores faced the same thing that Ron Rivera faced, and I criticized Ron for, and it worked out for Ron, oddly enough. But I criticized Ron for it, but not Brian, because I thought that Brian was looking out for the development of the player. But when he started yanking him so that he could go ahead and win games because they were in playoff hunt, that's when it became weird. That's why I was more so like, yo, just go ahead and play Ryan. Just play Ryan. I understand you're trying to use this as a way to attempt to continue to develop Tua and put him under fire, but it's not working in terms of you winning games to advance to the playoffs. If you want to go to the playoffs, go to the playoffs. If you want to go ahead and develop the guy without any criticism, and you allow, and well, I'm mad to say criticism like that, but you go ahead, you develop the guy, don't criticize him for how he's playing. You can't get mad for not making the playoffs, and you have to continue to go on and let this guy be your guy. Right. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Dolphins react and respond based upon what they do with their draft pick at the number 3 spot this coming spring. Because if they end up with one of the multiple draft picks that they have in the first round, they end up taking a QB. That lets me know what they think about Tua. Yeah. If they don't, then hopefully they give them some more help.
Well, keep in mind that before the season, I think I said this, and maybe you agree with me. I thought that they were going to redshirt him. I thought they were going to redshirt Tua this year because they have Ryan Fitzpatrick already. We know that Ryan Fitzpatrick's not a world beater, but he's known to play well in some spots, and he could give you the ball as well as throw some touchdowns. We see it. But, as far as he's Old Faithful, right? So I thought the plan was to have Tua redshirt. Now, maybe Brian Flores took a look around It saw the rookie QBs playing well, Burrow and Herbert, especially Herbert. Good God. But he's figured, well, let me see what we have here. He said it was planned. I think that's bullshit, but that's not a here nor there. But he brought him in after the bye week instead, and he had a winning record as a starter. But remember when he said after the Arizona game, remember he said that he didn't think it was going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
Remember he called it easy. I was like, this kid's about to get some mad humble pie. Because the NFL is humbling, especially the rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And he saw it. He saw it. But I'll say this, man. Look, Miami, they have a great foundation. They play in the state. There's no state taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Flores done a hell of a job with the organization. Stephen Ross, the owner, is doing a good job giving him control to do his thing, in conjunction with the general manager. And they have a nice foundation. You got all those damn draft picks.
Yeah.
Thanks to Houston. But they have those draft picks that can just build through the draft and not have to put out a big contract to Tua or whoever else to have a fairly young team. And the sky's the limit for them. The future's bright for them. But I'm talking to you one more thing before we get to the playoffs. So the NFL story for the season, headed to the postseason. Tom Brady and the New England Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Should it be considered a failure if they do not make the Super Bowl? If Tom Brady and the Buccaneers do not make the Super Bowl, should the season be considered a failure, even though they made the playoffs? That's a wild.
I'll come in and say this, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me that believes if you don't make the Super Bowl, it's a failure, right? Sure. That's for all 32 teams.
Correct.
Because that should be the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That should be the highest goal, is that, we make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. But there are a lot of teams that realistically can't play on that level. So there are other goals in which you need to match, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. I don't think anyone expected the Tampa Bay Bucks. No, I'm going to change that. There's some people that probably did, especially with Tom coming over, the offense being the way that it was, but no one expected the defense to play as well as they have this past season.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, do I think that it will be a bust for them coming in as a 5th seed and the 4th best record in the conference? I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think it'll be a bust. If anything, I still believe that this team needs to get a little bit better, so they can be considered to be one of the elites in the conference. They're almost there, but they're not, in my eyes, they're not elite because
they're running game away.
That's the thing. They don't want to stick to the consistency of the running game.
Right.
I like Robert Jones. I do. The thing is, because Tom wanted Leonard Fournette, now you got to split Robert Jones carries with Leonard Fournette.
Correct.
Now you got to split Robert Jones pass attempts with Leonard Fournette. Matter of fact, Ronald Jones was on the precipice of getting 1,000 yards rushing this year. But what do? Tom throws passes to his boy AB so that he can reach a mark, so that he can get a bonus. Jones can get a bonus too if he got 1,000, but no, you don't give him the ball. Yeah. So if they can go ahead and figure out whose team this is, and continue to be a little bit more consistent, like you said, with the run game, right. If they can get consistent play in terms of their play calling with that, then it's a possibility they can go ahead and be looked at as the next level. But that'd just be Tom playing within that year, playing within that system and playing with that team for a year, and they'll be a year better, right?
Yeah.
But as of right now, I think they're on the precipice of being exactly where, they should be, right?
Team, yeah.
Yeah, because chances are they could potentially end up facing Green Bay in the divisional round, right? Even though I'm going to go ahead and say it right now, I wouldn't be shocked if Tampa loses against Washington, and I got a litany of reasons
You're
why.
not the only one who said that. You're not the only one who said that. But we'll get to that in the playoff segment. But yeah.
Okay, so,
Tom,
if they face Green Bay, a team that they've beaten early in the season, there's a possibility that they go ahead and beat them twice. There's a possibility that Green Bay beats them. But if that happens, I wouldn't necessarily call that a failure. Green Bay has been looking lights out this entire year. Aaron Rodgers has had has had a MVP caliber season. So has Devontae Adams, and that defense is continuing to get better.
Yeah,
and those cries,
which is huge,
especially for them, right?
Yeah.
And as much as people talked about how Green Bay dropped the ball by not drafting another receiver for Aaron Rodgers to come out and play with, joke's on you. 48 touchdowns, 13-3 record.
Right.
So I digress. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that Tampa will be a failure for not making the Super Bowl. Even though they're right there on the precipice of being one of those elite teams that should start thinking that way. But they got enough talent to think that way already. I just think that they need another year under Arians, especially with the additions that they've added this past offseason, to think that way.
Well, you know what? I think Tampa was one of those teams that could really have used the preseason.
Yeah.
They could have eased, because remember, the first game at New Orleans, minus the crowd, of course, at New Orleans against Drew Brees. That was game number 1. No preseason. Get together, figure it out. As a result, it was predictable what happened, but New Orleans just owned the hell out of them this year. I mean, just owned them. So which makes me sing, because it's a possibility that if Tampa gets by Green Bay, which is why they get by your beloved Washington team, they may face New Orleans again.
Yeah.
That's a high possibility. So since we're talking about the playoffs, let's just go there right now. We're starting the NFC since we're already in the NFC. Look at the matchups. You got Tampa at Washington, Chicago at New Orleans, and Green Bay has a bye, but Los Angeles Rams at Seattle. You know what? The intriguing game I want to see, because first of all, I think the Bears are going to get their asses kicked in New Orleans. I don't think it's going to be a game. I think I like Seattle over the Rams because I think Jared Goff is banged up. And do you really want to start a backup, no matter how good he looked last week against Arizona? Do you really want to start a backup at Seattle at the 12th man? I don't think you do. And last but not least, I want to get to this game. You touched on it. Tampa at Washington. Got the Hall of Fame quarterback who played like a stud this year, but he's immobile, going against a hellacious defense with an even more hellacious front four. And your boy Chase Young, the young man, called him out, and to his credit, he doubled down. He said, yeah, I said it. I said what I said. I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, I said, excuse me, what I said. What you gonna do? So I want to see that. Now, I think personally Tampa's going to win because Washington doesn't have an offense to keep up with Tampa, what Tampa has to offer. But it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see how this particular matchup, the offense, Tom Brady offense, in his immobile self, going up against the hellacious front four in Washington. All his first round, second round draft picks. The linebacker's not that bad either. So that's going to be the matchup. If Tampa keeps Brady clean, this will be an ass whooping. Otherwise, this is going to be tough. It'll come down to the wire. I still lean towards Tampa because of the Tom Brady factor, of course. But this is a very intriguing game, and I cannot fucking wait to watch it.
Now, of course, anyone would expect me, being a Washington football fan, would expect me to be a little biased or a lot of bias based on how I see this game. But let me go ahead and lay some facts on you, right?
Facts.
Yeah. First and foremost, we already know that Tom Brady has a difficult time dealing with pressure, especially as it pertains to the front four.
Correct.
And if you remember in that Steelers game, there was a lot that they did in terms of just rushing for against Big Ben and allowing the remaining 7 to play coverage. It's a possibility they end up attempting to do the same thing on Saturday. If that's the case and they're capable of getting to Tom it's going to be a problem. Now, I do understand that you could probably say that the Tampa Bay receiving corps is a lot more talented than the Pittsburgh receiving corps, and they're not going to drop passes like Pittsburgh did. No disrespect, but
it's the fact, it's straight facts.
Yeah, but if they're capable of getting pressure on Tom, and we've seen Tom play in situations where he's had to face pressure, he don't deal well with those. And let me give you some examples. Okay, we look at it historically, playing against the NFC East teams in his past, he is 1-3 against the NFC in the playoffs. Now, yes, all those games are Super Bowl games, but those 3 games in which he lost, he dealt with a lot of pressure from the front seven. A whole lot of pressure, right? Okay, you say, okay, those are old Super Bowl games with a different team. Okay, fine. Let's look at this year, right? The games in which they've lost, a lot of those teams had great defenses and great front fours. You look at the Rams. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull up their schedule real quick. I don't have to look far because I actually have it right here, ready for the looking. Well, if this app opens up, that'll be the best. But yeah, if you look at the fact that, well, not the fact, but if you look at the games in which they lost this year, right? And I'll go Chicago, great front four, great defensive rush, especially with Khalil Mack. The Saints, that Saints defense played a whole lot better this year. And technically lost a gunfight with the Saints, but they still got a good defense. Who else? The Rams, great front four, and the Chiefs, whose defense can play well in spots, right?
Correct.
So those games right there get you a pass rush, and we know that. As a matter of fact, the Chiefs got a great pass rush as well.
They do.
Go ahead.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, they give up a lot of points, and I blame that on the secondary, but that pass rush that they have is highly respectable. Just like Washington, great pass rush, and those are games that they lost this year. Right? Another thing to take into consideration, something that I was completely blind to, didn't even think about. Tom Brady's bedtime. Tom Brady's bedtime is normally 8:00. This game is played at 8:20.
Oh man, bedtime.
Yeah,
that's funny.
And the Bucks this year on games played at 8:00, they're 1-3, and that one win is that controversial win against the Giants, where there was may or may not have been pass interference.
There was pass interference. It was pass interference, by the way. Just for the record.
So for those who believe that's a possibility, the Giants could have came away with that one. But yeah, Tom had a hard time during that game. Another defense that has quality pass rush and played well against Tom too. So yeah, you take all those 3 factors into play. But yes, Tom Brady has come into DC and he's destroyed Washington before in the past. But that's a young Tom. It's an old Tom. Young Tom didn't like getting hit.
Yeah.
Old Tom really don't like
really doesn't want to get hit.
And you get these young dogs out there that want to make a name for themselves. i.e. Chase Young that's already calling out for this dude.
Look out.
Again, I picked Washington to win. Would I be surprised if Tampa wins? No. But I also won't be surprised if Washington wins because they have what it takes defensively to win this game. Now, like you said, the offense is the side of the ball that I'm concerned about. I'm highly concerned about Alex Smith. There are a lot of people who say Alex is the one that is 6-1, 7-1 in starts this year. He should be the one to start. But as immobile as he looked in that Eagles game, I don't know if I want to take that chance unless he feels as though he's better. But the way he's looking right now, I'll go ahead and take my chances with Heineke. I would. I talked to you about it on the show last week, how excited I was to see him potentially play this past week. I'm still that amped because if he's capable of doing what Washington did last week, that was another thing I talked about in our preview of the game between Washington and Philly last week. If Washington was capable of driving downfield and scoring points early in the game, which they did against Philly, they would win. And that's exactly what happened. If they're capable of, I'm not going to say if they're capable of driving on them and scoring early, but if they're capable of moving the ball, that's the one thing I'm more concerned about this week than I was last week. If they're capable of moving the ball, I truly believe everything else will handle themselves. But I think this is going to be a game that's going to be won by defense by either team. It's either going to be a play made by Washington's defense that leads to a win or Tampa's defense that leads to a win. I'm saying it here first.
Okay, now right quick. Is your receiver, your all-world receiver, Terry McLaurin, is he playing? Is he healthy?
As far as I know, if he's going to be healthy enough to
Oh, that's
play
huge.
again
That's
this week,
huge. That's
because
huge.
he played last week. Unfortunately, he was the one that got the first touchdown.
Right.
You could say that he wasn't as active because of the injury or because of the fact that the defense honed in on him. But either way, he wasn't as big. The thing is, I'm going to need him. Well, I'm going to hope that he's capable of just playing. Period. If that's going to continue to be the case, and they're capable of getting the ball to him, Cam Sims, God. Logan Thompson, the tight end.
Yeah. Former quarterback.
Yeah, and if they can get the running back, Antonio Gibson, to run the ball well, even though Tampa has a great run defense, if they can get him going as well as McKissick, who's been playing well, catching the ball out of the backfield, they'll be fine.
All right, AFC.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the AFC is the better conference. I'm sorry. It's not me being biased, a Steelers fan.
No.
It just is. You got a 10-win team who's now in the playoffs, right? You got 8-8 team in Chicago that backed his way in. So anyway, Kansas City obviously has a bye.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I've been saying all season, no matter what great of a start Pittsburgh was when they were 11-0, Kansas City is the best team in the league. Always has been this year. It's their world. Everybody else is living in it. So they got the bye. Buffalo hosting Indianapolis. Strength against strength. Defense for the Colts versus offense, the Bills, believe it or not. I like the Bills in this one. Should be entertaining. Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Rivalry. Big rivalry. Cleveland's decent again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay for me to hate Cleveland again instead of laugh at them. I think this has the verge of being a blowout, especially with Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, not being able to coach because he has COVID, or just positive for COVID, I should say. And the all-pro guard will not play. I forget his last name, but he won't be playing as well, which will hurt the run game. And so Pittsburgh gets back Big Ben, gets back Pouncey, gets back T.J. Watt, gets back Cam Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
They're full strength. Remember, Cleveland barely beat the B team from Pittsburgh last week. Again, it came down to a failed 2-point conversion. So I like the Steelers big in this game. And they're playing at home, by the way. So I like a biggest game. The game I want to see, bro, which gives us to this. Baltimore, Tennessee. Old rivalry, bad blood going back to the 2000 season when the Ravens went there and did them. Remember, like when Ray Lewis and company went in there, and Shannon Sharp went in there against Steve McNair, Jeff Fisher, Eddie Jones. That was the most brutal game I've seen.
I love that
rivalry. Brutal game.
Yeah.
And if you go back, I mean, if you go back even from this year, not last year, but excuse me, a few years before that, when I think it was the mid-2000s, when Ray Lewis and company as a 6 seed? They went into Tennessee back when Tennessee was the top seed, and they beat them. Remember, Tennessee was led by Chris Johnson.
Yes.
Among other people. They went there, they knocked Johnson out of the game, and then it was a very low scoring game in Tennessee. The memory seems that I think they won 13-10, something like that. But anyway, they went on.
That sounds about right. Yeah, with those games between them, that sounds
Jeff
about
Fisher
right.
was coaching them. So basically, that led from there, the Baltimore team then, that was Joe Flacco's rookie season. That was the same year that right after that game, they lost to Pittsburgh in the championship game. And right to Pittsburgh's Super Bowl win over the Arizona Cardinals. So I think that was the 2008, 2007, 2008 season.
It was Flacco's rookie season.
Yeah,
that might have been about 7, 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when. So be that as it may, there's a lot of history, a lot of bad blood between those two teams that don't play in the same division anymore. Mm-hmm. And and the grudge match is going to happen this coming Sunday, the early game, 1 p.m. on ABC. As much as I want to pick Tennessee because I'm a huge fan of Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill has had a career renaissance since joining the Titans. Like when he left, like when he left the Dolphins. Actually, when the Dolphins cut him. Baltimore's playing well, bro. Remember when Baltimore beat Cleveland in that 3-0 Monday night game? And I was like, well, shit, that was a hard game. And if you look at the rest of the schedule, I mean, sure, they had the Giants, the Cowboys, and Cincinnati again, but you play who you play, right? And they handled the business. And that's what I remember telling you, that after they went 6-5, and after they did beat the Browns, I'm like, don't be surprised if they went out. And they did. So they went from 6-5 after losing to Pittsburgh a second time to a 5-game winning streak. They're hot, that's fire, that's hot grease. And they're going to Tennessee. So I like Baltimore in this game. Tennessee can't rush the passer. The defense sucks. I mean, you allow, I know like Deshaun Watson in Houston. I know he's the man, but he has little to no weapons around him. And yet they hung 38 on him. So I like the Ravens in this game. I think it may be low scoring. Just know that both teams love to run the football, so it's gonna be very old school. So yeah, I like Baltimore. What should be a close yet tough, brutal, hard-hitting, old school kind of game.
It's interesting that you're capable of remembering the details of that game that vividly. I mean, we all have games like that where we just keep them up there. And you were actually right. I just looked it up, and yeah, all of the details that you put out there, that's exactly how it went down with the Ravens winning that game 13-10. Yeah. This is another game. Well, this is another situation within the AFC where I agree with you with your first two picks, but disagree with that third one again. Okay. Like you said, Baltimore has improved. Mm-hmm. And Tennessee has had its spots too, especially look real spotty against Jacksonville this past Sunday, which is a head scratcher to me. The thing is, that Tennessee team can't go in and play Baltimore. They can't. It has to be the Tennessee that we saw when they won games throughout the season. I agree with you. I truly believe this is going to be a close one. And I believe that this is going to be a game that's won through the run game and through defense. But yeah, I'm leaning more towards Tennessee in this situation. If Baltimore can't stop Derrick Henry, I'm going to go ahead and if they can't stop Derrick Henry, they're going to win it. Yeah. The thing is, it's going to be intriguing to see now with the combination of Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins, how this running game is going to look, because we saw how they looked last year with Mark Ingram, right? But now with the young ball, J.K., it's going to be real interesting to see if they're going to be able to keep pace with Tennessee and what Derrick Henry does best this year, the 2,000-yard rusher. Yeah,
this may be a quick game because both teams love to run the football. Everything's predicated off of the run game. The dual threat with Lamar Jackson, the play action passer with Ryan Tannehill. This may be shit. I mean, you're going to have both teams sustaining drives of 12 or 13 plays because they love to run the football. Now, granted, Derrick Henry can break out home runs, as could Lamar Jackson for the quarterback position, as could J.K. Dobbins, if you wanted to. I'm looking forward to it. This is old school football. In the era where teams love to pass the ball and be glitzy and glamorous about it, these are two teams who know their identity. Yeah. They know their identity.
Because their head coaches know their identity.
Exactly.
And they don't waver from them either, which is something that I thoroughly enjoy, is to see a team that has a philosophy under a coach that is rooted in that philosophy, and everybody on that team falls in line with that philosophy because it's a winning one. And one of the guys that we didn't necessarily talk about in terms of, he's not going to be a super threat on the run game, but he can make plays. And it's funny because they just showed the fact that Baltimore and Tennessee will be playing on the Mothership Network, because I got it on the screen in front of me right now. The one guy that we don't talk about as it pertains to making plays on his feet is one Ryan Tannehill, who can
Correct.
also do the same.
Oh, correct.
And
Absolutely
now
correct.
he's not going to be a 100-yard rusher, but there are going to be plays in which there are going to be times, instances where he's going to make plays with his feet.
He can move.
In Baltimore, yes, he can move. And Baltimore better not forget about that dude and his ability to do so.
Yeah, I mean, like that one touchdown he had against the Texans, where everyone followed and their mama followed Henry. He just bootlegged his ass into the end zone untouched.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to it. Now, me personally, I despise both squads because the history they have, the history that both have with my Steelers. But I mean, albeit a brutal history, but these two teams, even though they're not in the same division anymore, they can't stand each other. They never had. They never had. I mean, this is the old Cleveland, old Houston Oilers, right? So I mean, I'm just looking forward to it. I am looking forward to that game. And it's going to be hella fun to watch. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be physical. Old school shit. It's straight old school. We'll get you out here on this, brother. College football playoff. Where's Dabo Swinney? I don't hear him talking anymore.
He's at home watching his tights.
Yes.
That's exactly where he is right now. Oh, my God. And unexpectedly for me, too. I'm not going to sit here and front like I picked against Dabo. No, I picked them to do so.
I picked them to beat Ohio State, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? When you open your mouth like this and stuff like this happens, it makes it that much easier to laugh at them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm an ACC guy, and I'm clowning him. That's how bad it was. But need be it as it may, I'm glad we don't have Alabama Clemson Part 5. That's the good news.
Yeah.
The bad news is it's still probably going to get an ass whooping, even though you still got two blue bloods in Alabama, Ohio State. I think Ohio State will try to make a game of it. I think they're playing with a humongous chip on their shoulders. I don't know who's stopping Alabama, though. How you going to stop Alabama? I don't see anybody stopping them. And this is just like LSU last year. This is just Alabama's year. I think they would beat Clemson. And I for damn sure think they'll beat Ohio State.
Now, I actually picked Clemson to beat Alabama again. The thing is, though, the way that Devonta Smith has looked this year, and congratulations to him for the Heisman.
Props.
I applaud him most definitely. The thing is, though, and it's going to be something that shows its ugly head, is the fact that neither one of these teams have played defense extremely well this year.
Exactly.
The thing is, though, we've seen Ohio State play defense a little bit better than Alabama. Or maybe it's because of the level of play. Or maybe it's because we've only seen Ohio State play, 6-7 times this year. So that could be another thing, too, right? But I digress. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these two offenses look this year. Justin Fields playing up against that Alabama defense, which isn't Alabama defenses that we're used to. And the same can be said about Ohio State's defense when they face Mac Jones, Devonta Smith, and what's that running back's name that they have over there, Alabama, too? I know
you're talking about. I can't think of the young man's name.
See, and it's bad.
Yeah.
Because this dude was a beast in the first part of the season.
Yeah.
And we've forgotten completely about him because of the play of Smith and Jones.
Right.
So, it's a possibility that this dude could have a big game, too, this week. So, it'll just be interesting to see how these defenses look in this title game. But I'm looking for this game to be a lot closer than what some might think. But I'm intrigued by this matchup too, even though it's not what we've been used to from these two programs for within the past 5 years.
Yeah, it's again. Look, I'm hoping for a competitive game. Najee Harris. But I hope it's gonna be competitive. I think it'll be entertaining earlier, but I just think Alabama's just better. Kind of like LSU was last year. They're just better.
Yeah.
And living in Cincinnati, Ohio, it's gonna be it's gonna be live. Let's put it that way. I have neighbors who are big Ohio State fans, so it's gonna be live. And Michigan fans. But I just think Alabama's that much better, bro. It is what it is. All right, and I don't know if you have anything else. We can call the show. What do you think?
Not really. I mean, NBA season is still,
It's too
to
early.
me,
It's
you
too
know,
early.
it's bubbling. You know, it's still we're still trying to figure everybody out, right?
Yeah.
Conference play with NCAA men's basketball right now is
Mhm.
underway. Congratulations to the sister. I can't remember what her name is. To be the first Black coach
Yes.
in baseball for
Yes. Let
minor
me look
league
her up.
squad.
Yes, a
I think it's
sister.
like Bianca something. I can't
Bianca
remember what her last
Smith.
name is.
Bianca Smith.
That's what it is.
Bianca
That's
Smith.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So congratulations to her.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think, is there anything else that's going on?
Oh,
Markel
Fultz, excuse me, injured his knee.
Oh, wow.
He tore his ACL.
Wow.
That's a bummer.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
He was playing so well too.
Yeah.
His confidence back in Orlando. Need to change the scenery.
Mm-hmm.
I'm praying for that brother. He's gonna come. I think he's gonna come back. He's gonna, bounce back. He's still a young guy.
Yeah.
He's been through so much shit, man. In between the years, he's finally getting it again. But this to happen, it's crazy. That's terrible. But
the one other thing, because I don't want to talk about sleazy things like we normally do on our show, i.e. your boy, what's his name? Head coach over there at Ole Miss, Mississippi State.
Football?
That was football, yeah, that was in the stands taking the
yeah,
pictures.
Yeah. Oh, that was the pirate guy. Oh, God damn it. I know you're talking about. Anyway, yeah,
he's in the stands taking pictures without any mask on.
Yeah,
like it's COVID, but he's taking pictures maskless while his players aren't involved.
Rioting against Tulsa.
Yeah, against Tulsa, and I'm like, y'all wilding out. But I digress.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to ask you about real quick is that it was just announced a couple of days ago that the NCAA, who are looking to do their men's tournament, is looking to do a bubble in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
This is different. COVID has fucked some things up, man. And I'll be shocked if we get that far. I'm gonna come out and say it because, I'm talking on the women's side now. The women's side, Duke's basketball team decided to say, fuck it, we ain't playing this year. Mm-hmm. And the men's team had to delay some games. Mm-hmm. Coach K Mike Krzyzewski has openly questioned why are we playing these games, as well as Pitt's head coach. I forget his name. Played for Duke, but anyway,
I just find that Krzyzewski's timing in that just happens to be
their worst year in a while.
Yeah, exactly right. So now you want to question that? Okay, cool. It is what it is. But I digress.
Yeah, but it's going to be different. I'm looking up in the air because I'm trying to think, but it's going to be very, very, very different. Now, do I understand? Yes. You don't want so many different regions, right? Mm-hmm. Where you have how many regions you typically have? I don't know, 16 or something odd regions that you're playing in the first round, and then they call it round of 32 now. The round of 32 now. And then before the Sweet 16 and the Grade 8, the Elite 8, I should say, they should call it the Grade 8, but that's not here nor there. Then the Final Four, I understand why they're doing it. I'm just wondering if they're even going to get that far. I'm wondering, with all these cancellations and delays, and look, I understand why they have to do this, because this is a cash cow.
Yeah.
If they don't play this tournament this year like they didn't do last year, they're going to be losing a hell of money. Not just NCAA, but these schools.
Yeah.
Are going to be losing a whole lot of money. They're missing a lot of money now because there's no one in the stands. Mm-hmm. So I understand. I don't know if we're going to get that far, but I understand why they did it, because they decided to do it because they need that money, but they couldn't take the risk, afford the risk, having so many regions. And these kids probably arguably shouldn't be playing anyway during this pandemic. They have a higher risk of getting COVID or testing positive for COVID by playing these different regions, right? All this travel, all the logistics involved and everything else. So they couldn't have it under one bubble per se because there's so many teams, 64, 67 teams or whatever, but they're going to have it in different parts of the state of Indiana, right? So I think I don't know for sure how they're going to do it, but I think they may have like different sizes of bracket in all four. I don't know how many, 4 or 5, whatever sites in the state of Indiana. Probably going to be in driving distance. I think it's going to be at Conseco Fieldhouse. Well, Baker's Life Fieldhouse now, formerly Conseco Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. At Hinkle Gymnasium at Butler's campus. IU's campus in Bloomington. I think West Lafayette at Purdue. So that's 4 or 5. Let's count, but yeah, it's going to be in those cities and towns. So it'll lessen the risk. It wouldn't have to travel as far.
True.
And they probably stay in the same hotel, I would think. Hotels, I would think. It's just weird how we're to this point, you know, with COVID. But yeah, let's just hope that it gets to that point.
Yeah, right.
Let's hope
that's
that
the other
first.
thing too.
Let's hope that first. So, but we'll see. I understand it. From a logistics standpoint, I understand why they had to do it. And a financial standpoint, I really understand why they had to do it. I still think in the end they're going to be losing some money because there's no crowd, no tickets.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be the thing that hurts them the most. It's the fact that they probably won't be able to sell tickets to games. But I'm sitting here with my fingers crossed, man, hoping that, sooner or later we'll be able to go back outside and play and watch games. And I just don't know exactly when that's going to be just yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll see. Well, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it. Okay. Thank y'all for tuning into the podcast. Please check out my man D Nash here, the Yard/HBCU Sports Wrestle about all things HBCU sports. By the way, how can they get the merch? Can they get the merch?
You know what? I'm
Uh-oh.
gonna have to go ahead and start making the merch available again.
Okay.
If you want some, I can go ahead and most definitely get it to you. But what you can do until then, you can visit my website, heritagebcs.com. That's heritagebcs.com. BCS stands for Black College Sports. I actually have a line of Black College tees and sweatshirts that honor Black College sports and the culture. So, pay homage to a lot of the old players that play the HBCUs that have had great careers in professional sports. But yeah, I'm looking to go ahead and bring the Yard merch back out, and when I do, it'll also be on that website now. But yeah, I have tons of great legacy T-shirts that honor NBA and MLB greats like what's your boy's name? Willis Reed, Sam Jones, Al Adams from A&T, Lou Brock, what's your boy's name? I see Andre Dawson. So I have jersey tees that honor them, as well as other tees that honor groups of players as well, and also pay homage to the culture of HBCU sports. Cool.
And so I'll put that in the description of the video as well, so they can get that. So I'll hook you up there. Also, Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night, Facebook Live with the coach and the crew. And last but not least, herosports.com, where he writes about all things FCS sports as pertains to HBCUs. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you get the ding, ding, dings. So when new shit comes out on the channel. Also, get the merch.
Get the merch.
CafePress.com. Search for the Clown Time Sports. You'll find it there as well. So until next time, stay safe out there. If you have to go outside, wear a mask. Otherwise, wash your hands. Stay safe, stay cool. Until next time, peace out.